It's joke, no joke, no joke. Oh, you know what it is. Keep on hating. You know what it is. Choke, no joke. I'm in the building, baby. Your boy's thirsty. You know what I mean? How y'all living out there? How you living? Like Robin Givens? Choke, no joke. I'm in the building. You already know. Truth be told, all day, every day. Choke, no joke live. It is what it is. I'm here. So, outside of me doing current events, I'm always stay up on the current events. I'm always going to bring y'all what's hot in the news. But there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about that may not be current events, but that may be that is definitely good topics and things for us to talk on and build on, right? So more recently, I was watching an interview with Priscilla Presley. That's Lisa Presley's mother, Elvis' daughter, right? And she was talking about, you know, when Michael Jackson started dating Lisa Ann Presley. I think that's her name. Lisa Ann Marie Presley or something like that. But Lisa Presley, right? And at first she was saying that, her mother was saying that she wasn't with it, with Michael Jackson dating their daughter, and she was insinuating, in my belief, that only reason Michael Jackson wanted to date Lisa was because of who she was, and she was saying to her, "You know who you are, right? Like, you know why he wants to date you, right? Because she was Elvis' daughter. She didn't think that it was authentic." And me, I'm like, you know what? She might be right. That's the genius of Michael Jackson. Even though Michael Jackson may have been weird to a lot of people, they used to call him Wacko Jacko and stuff like that. I studied Michael Jackson somewhat a little bit, and when you think about Michael Jackson was very, 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 very intelligent. He was smart. You know what I'm saying? He might have been too smart for his own good. That's why they allegedly killed him, right? When you think about some of the things that he's done, right? Like Priscilla Presley, she said Michael came to the house that they had in Memphis one year, and he came and she was like, when she got to meet him, she kind of liked him, his personality and stuff. And then, like when he left, she had asked her daughter, Lisa Presley, "Do he really talk like that?" And Lisa Presley was like, "No, that's he has another voice, right?" And I started thinking about that, and I always felt like when you listen to Michael's singing, right? He has he can project his voice in different tones, right? And so if you go listen to some of his songs, they all not high pitched, right? So I believe that Michael Jackson started to study people, and when he was studying people, um, he figured out that white people or some people are intimidated by the black man, because you see how they, they say that we are intimidating. You look at how they look at Dame for going in there yelling and raising his voice and everything, right? That got him blackballed, so to speak, right? A lot of people don't like that, how he raised his voice, you know. And I think that Michael mastered that early on in his career, and he changed his tone to his voice to be less intimidating, so people wouldn't be scared of him. Hi, how you doing? Hi. But had he, projected his real voice in public or in meetings or around these people, they would be intimidated by him. And I think that, that was a conscious effort by him to learn how to not intimidate people, and so they wouldn't be scared of him, right? That's just one of the genius things about Michael Jackson, right? Another thing that I think that he did intentionally was to bleach his skin. I know that they say that he had that skin disease, but he could have made that go either lighter or darker. That, you know what I'm saying? But he chose to make his skin lighter, right? I think that was also a part of his way of not being intimidated by, white people or other people. So not only did he change his voice and project his voice and the high tone, because you wouldn't be scared of him. But if he had a Barry White tone, or he, had the what they call the angry black man tone, right? Then he would be more intimidated, more people would be scared of him, and he may not have reached the plateau that he did. So for me, I think that all was a strategic plan by Michael Jackson, just so that he wouldn't intimidate people. Same thing with the skin color, right? One of my kids growing up, they thought what Michael Jackson was a white man. They didn't see the black Michael Jackson growing up. By the time they got to the age where they could recognize who's who and whatever, one of my children thought Michael Jackson was white. I'm like, no, he's not white. He used to be my color. And they really thought that Michael Jackson was white. And I think that Michael Jackson did that once again as a strategic plan to elevate his career, because a lot of people, and I'm sure that my child wasn't the only one that thought Michael Jackson was white. And as you can see, his fan base was predominantly white people, and or those of the Caucasian whether they British, whether they American, whether they from Scotland, whatever. When you go to Michael Jackson concerts, or you saw Michael Jackson concerts, it would be predominantly white people falling out, right? A lot of people may have not even known he was black, growing up young, or didn't look at him as a black man, as like a R. Kelly or a Luther Vandross. You know what I'm saying? And it made him a pop star, right? It's rare that you heard people say Michael Jackson was an R&B artist. They called him the king of pop, right? And I'm willing to bet they put him in that category because of, not only because of his music, because his music really was R&B, right? But he had R&B with like a you know, a pop rock flair to it with certain songs. You know what I'm saying? Like a Dirty Diana, you know, that had like a little rock, you know, in it and stuff. But when you look at him, you know what I'm saying? If you go to Motown 25 when he first did the Moonwalk, you know, you might have looked at him as an R&B artist. But by the time he got to Bad, you looked at him as a pop artist. You know what I'm saying? Because even the song Bad, that's really R&B, right? But the music makes you feel it, and you looking at it, the way he's dressed and the way his hair is and his skin tone. You're not saying it's R&B. You're looking, they put him as pop, and it works for him. So not only him changing his voice, him changing his image, him changing his skin, not dressing like us and in the black world or the R&B world, he catered himself towards the people that are intimidated by us, right? But they weren't intimidated by Mike. They embraced Mike. They didn't look at Mike like they looked at OJ. You know what I'm saying? They felt Mike was theirs. You know what I'm saying? And that's just some of the genius of Michael Jackson, right? Think about what he did, buying the Beatles catalog, buying Sony's catalog. He ain't just have the Beatles catalog. He had Sony's publishing. He bought their whole publishing, right? That's genius. Some of y'all don't even own your own publishing. Dudes is out here selling they publishing left and right. Michael's out there buying not only Sony publishing, but the Beatle publishing. And if you listen to Paul McCartney and when he tell you how Michael Jackson outsmarted him, you got to think how much of a genius was Michael, right? And then when you think about how he passed away, you think that wasn't our people that took him out. That was the people that he outsmarted, which wasn't us. It was them. So just something to think about, something for us to build on, something for us to talk about. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. The genius of Michael Jackson. Do you think Michael Jackson was a genius? Yes or no? Choke no joke. You already know. All right, one.